There's a quiet panic that visits some people in the middle of ordinary days, a feeling that everyone else is moving forward while you are somehow standing still. This is the psychology of feeling behind in life. It doesn't always arrive with drama. Often it slips in quietly. You're washing dishes, scrolling through your phone, sitting in your car before going into work. You see an announcement, a promotion, a wedding photo, a retirement post, a new house, a grandchild, and something tightens in your chest. Not jealousy exactly, not even resentment, just a subtle awareness that time seems to be carrying everyone else somewhere specific, and you are unsure where it's carrying you. Feeling behind in life is rarely about a single event. It's more like a background hum, a low-grade comparison that never fully turns off. You measure your career against someone you went to school with. You measure your relationship against your siblings. You measure your energy against who you used to be at 25. And somehow, in these quiet calculations, you always seem to come up short. For adults over 35, this feeling can take on a particular weight. By this age, there's an unspoken cultural script. Certain milestones are expected to have happened. Stability should look a certain way. Your life should appear coherent from the outside. When it doesn't match the imagined timeline, it can feel less like deviation and more like personal failure. But the psychology of feeling behind in life doesn't begin at 35. It usually starts much earlier, in small, almost invisible moments of comparison. In childhood, timelines are introduced gently at first. You learn that certain grades correspond to certain ages. You see classmates who read faster, run faster, speak louder. Gold stars are given. Awards are announced. Someone is ahead. Someone else is behind. Even if adults never use those words directly, children absorb the hierarchy. They notice who gets praised. They notice who is described as so mature for their age or still catching up. Sometimes you were the child who advanced quickly, and that early identity becomes its own pressure. Being ahead once can make any later stagnation feel like decline. Other times, you were the child who lagged slightly, academically or socially, and that quiet awareness of not quite measuring up can settle into your nervous system early. It doesn't need to be dramatic. Just repeated, just consistent enough. Over time, the external timeline becomes internal. You begin to carry an invisible checklist in your head. By this age, I should have this. By that age, I should be that. And even if you consciously reject these standards, they linger. They shape your reactions. This is how feeling behind in life begins to affect adult life. It turns neutral information into emotional evidence. A friend's success isn't just their success. It becomes proof that you are late. A birthday isn't just a celebration. It becomes a reminder of what hasn't happened yet. You may not even notice it consciously. Sometimes it just feels like a vague heaviness around milestones. In your 20s, the feeling might have felt almost motivating, a push to catch up, a sense of urgency. But in your late 30s or 40s, urgency can shift into something quieter, a question that lingers longer than it used to. Did I miss something? Did I take a wrong turn? And yet, when you look at your life objectively, it may not appear behind at all. You may have worked steadily, loved deeply, survived things no one else saw. But the psychology of feeling behind in life isn't rational. It's comparative. It feeds on selective information. It filters out your context and highlights other people's outcomes. There's also the social layer. Outwardly, you may seem composed, responsible, even successful. You attend gatherings. You congratulate others. You smile at photos. And inside, there's a small voice doing arithmetic. They have 2 children. I have none. He retired early. I'm still figuring it out. She seems so certain. I still feel unsure. Sometimes the feeling behind isn't about money or career. Sometimes it's about emotional development. You look at someone who seems comfortable in their own skin, and you wonder why you still feel unsettled. You compare your internal chaos to someone else's curated calm. And because you cannot see their private doubts, you assume they don't have any. This is one of the quiet distortions of feeling behind in life. You compare your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel, but you do it so subtly you don't even call it comparison. You call it observation. You call it reality. There are moments when this feeling intensifies. High school reunions, family weddings, social media anniversaries, retirement parties, even children growing up can trigger it. Watching your son or daughter reach an age you once were can bring up a strange reflection. When I was that age, I thought I would be further by now. The comparison stretches not only outward but backward, toward your younger self. You may find yourself remembering the certainty you once had. At 20, you imagined 40 would feel stable, clear, resolved. And now, at 40, you realize life is still unfolding, still uncertain. The gap between expectation and reality can create a quiet sense of delay, as though you are perpetually almost there. Sometimes feeling behind in life isn't about ambition at all, it's about belonging. When your friends talk about mortgage rates or college applications and you are navigating something entirely different, you can feel out of sync. Not wrong, just misaligned. Like you're walking to a different rhythm in a room full of synchronized steps. In relationships, this pattern can show up in subtle ways. You may hesitate to share your plans if they feel less impressive. You might downplay your struggles. You might feel a strange embarrassment about circumstances that are not entirely within your control. And this is how feeling behind in life begins to shape identity. It's no longer just about what you have or haven't achieved. It's about how you see yourself in comparison to others. Sometimes you may even rush decisions to escape the feeling. Taking a job not because it fits, but because it looks like progress. Entering a relationship because it aligns with a timeline. Making financial choices to signal stability. And yet, even after making these moves, the feeling doesn't always disappear. Because the core of feeling behind in life isn't external position, it's internal measurement. There's also the quiet grief that comes with it. Not loud regret, just a subtle mourning of imagined paths, the life you thought you would have by now, the version of yourself you assumed you would become. It's not that your current life is unlivable, it's just different. And sometimes different feels like delayed. As adults age into their 50s and 60s, the feeling behind can shift again. It may move away from career and toward legacy. Have I done enough? Have I mattered enough? Others seem to have clearer stories. Mine feels unfinished. The clock becomes more audible, even if no one speaks of it directly. And yet, when you talk to people privately, many of them confess similar thoughts. Quietly, almost sheepishly. It turns out that the sense of being behind is strangely common, even among those who appear ahead. But because everyone carries it privately, it feels uniquely yours. There's something deeply human about wanting to be on time for your own life, wanting your outer reality to match your inner expectations. When it doesn't, the dissonance can be unsettling. You may find yourself overanalyzing small choices from years ago, tracing them like turning points. If I had stayed, if I had left earlier, if I had tried harder. But life rarely unfolds in straight lines. It bends, it pauses, it reroutes. And yet, the mind prefers clean trajectories. It prefers comparison because comparison gives structure. It tells you where you stand, even if the conclusion is uncomfortable. Sometimes you may not even notice that the feeling behind is shaping your mood. It just shows up as irritability, or fatigue, or a strange detachment from celebrations. You're happy for others, but the happiness feels slightly muted. Not because you lack generosity, but because your own internal timeline is whispering in the background. You might try to silence it with productivity, with busyness, with constant forward motion. And sometimes that helps. But often, the feeling isn't about speed, it's about meaning. You don't just want to move, you want to feel aligned. And alignment is difficult to measure. There's no public announcement for it, no visible milestone. It's quieter than that, which means feeling behind in life can persist even when you're objectively progressing. As the years pass, some people notice the feeling softening. Not because they've caught up, but because they've grown tired of measuring. Others notice it intensifying during transitions. Job loss, divorce, health changes. When the external markers shift unexpectedly, the internal timeline can feel shattered. But even then, if you look closely, the pattern remains the same. The mind scanning for where it should be instead of where it is. Sometimes, late at night, the question surfaces in its simplest form. Is this it? Not as despair, just curiosity tinged with disappointment. And then, almost immediately, a quiet comparison follows. Other people seem more certain, more settled, more complete. The feeling of being behind may still whisper occasionally, but it no longer defines the entire narrative. It becomes one thread among many. And perhaps, in that subtle shift, the timeline loosens its grip just enough for you to breathe.